Next Kinnos, Chav Dalet, Al Churban Beis Hamikdash, page 79 in the small Kinnos. The Gemara says that Beitar is one of the 5 things that happened on Tisha B'Av after Churban Bayesheni, Churban Beitar. The reason that Beitar was destroyed, Shelo Hisablu al Yerushalayim u'Beis Hamikdash. Bar Kochva, they thought was Mashiach. Even Rabbi Akiva thought that he could potentially be Mashiach. They already had independence from the Romans. They already were minting coins during the 2.5 years of the merit of Bar Kochva. They probably celebrated a Yom HaTzmaut then also. They were independent of the Romans. And they thought that that's it. The Gedolah had come. But they forgot the fact that the Gedolah wasn't just to be independent and to be free from Shibud Malchios. The Rambam describes, how do we know if somebody's Mashiach? So the Rambam says that if somebody claims to be Mashiach and he has the right credentials, you have to assume he's Mashiach. How do you know for sure he's Mashiach? You'll know for sure he's Mashiach if he brings all Jews into Eretz Yisrael and he's Bona HaMikdash Bimkomo and he builds the Beis HaMikdash with all the halachas that the Beis HaMikdash report. That is the siyum of Gedolah. And if somebody brings all Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael and we have independence and we're minting our own coins, but he doesn't build the Beis HaMikdash Bimkomo, he's not Mashiach. That's not Gedolah. So because they misunderstood what Gedolah was, as unfortunately many people today think that Gedolah is being independent, have an independent state, a Jewish state, and that's it. We can protect ourselves. Never again will we let Chas v'Shalom, a Holocaust happen as if we let it happen then. There are even people who think that maybe we shouldn't even be sitting on the floor anymore. There are those that say that Tisha B'Av should be a yontif, as a remembrance of Churban and Golus, and now we're out of Golus. Not in Golus anymore. So they say. There are those that don't go that far. Okay, Tisha B'Av you should mourn, but at least you shouldn't say Nachem. How can you say Nachem? Ir HaBezuya, V'Hashomema, Yerushalayim is built up. It's not Ir HaShomema, V'Habezuya. But as long as there's no Beis HaMikdash, then Yerushalayim is Habzuya v'Hashomema. And somebody doesn't understand that, who has even a question. So that's what happened in the time of Bar Kochva. Shelo Isavlu HaYerushalayim. They thought that independence, that being free from the Romans, minting your own coins, that was enough to be called Gedolah. There's nothing more to be misabel for. That would need a Beis HaMikdash someday, but it's another shlab. That's Gedolah Shlema, but we have a Gedolah. It's not a Gedolah B'chlal. It's still B'zuya V'Shomema. The Iker Churban is not physical. The Iker Churban is what the spiritual matzav of Klal Yisrael is. And perhaps today it's even more B'zuya and more Shomema than it was in the past, when at least it was Goyim that were Mechal the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, not Yidden. The Satmar Rebbe says Mizmor LeDavid Bo Goyim Benachlosecha Tim Waseichel Kodshecha. What's Mizmor LeDavid? It should say Kino LeDavid. He said no, that Mizmor LeDavid is that it's Goyim that are on Harabayis and Goyim that are Metame, because Rahman Litzon have been Yidden, it'd be worse. The purpose of Avelis is to recognize what's missing, to make a statement that everything's not well. Somebody dies and you're misabel, it's a covet for the nifter. Because if you go business as usual after somebody dies, that means that he made no difference. No difference if he's here, he's not here. You business as usual. The fact that you have to sit shiva and you have to make yourself uncomfortable is because something happened. This person meant something. There's a difference now, but he's not here. It bothers me. It affects my life. That's one purpose of Avelis. Another purpose of Avelis is the neshama itself, the Svarim say, the Rashba says. The neshama goes through a difficult transition to acclimate itself to a spiritual surroundings. It's hard to leave a physical world and become all of a sudden spiritual. First 3 days it says the neshama doesn't know if it should go back to the grave or go to the house. It doesn't know where it belongs. Till the end of Shiva, it's a little bit less confused. Till Shloshim, less confused. And finally, by the end of the year, the neshama is settled where it's going to be in the next world. So Nosei Ba'olim Chaveiro, the Avelim, commiserate with the neshama, and they also go through a difficult time to show the neshama that it bothers them, that the neshama is having this difficult transition time. That's the purpose of Avelis too. And that's the purpose of Avelis of the Beis HaMikdash. If we don't feel it, and it's impossible to emotionally feel Churban Abayis, we never had a Beis HaMikdash that we experienced, we don't know what we're missing. It's like somebody coming to you and telling you, I just discovered that 400 years ago your great-great-great-grandmother was run over by a wagon and a horse. I mean, it's, a nice tidbit of knowledge. I don't think anybody's going to go crazy emotionally. My poor great-great-great-grandmother. She's been dead for 400 years. You never met her. You know anything about her. It's a tinge of... The Beis HaMikdash has been gone for 2,000 years. We never experienced it. How much can we have emotion? But you have to go through the motions. If you go through the motion, make the statement, something's wrong. I wouldn't be sitting here on the floor having to listen to all of this if something's not wrong. So we're making a statement. We're going through the motions of saying that I can't just go by business as usual the whole year because there's no Beis HaMikdash. And make a statement. It's covered of the Beis HaMikdash. I can't live my life normal. And secondly, we become attuned to the spiritual mikdash, because that's the Yikr, and that's still there. The Beis HaMikdash Shel Ma'ala is still there. And if we'll become connected to that, then maybe we'll bring back the Beis HaMikdash Shel Mata also. So those are the purposes of Avelis. And the Svarim say that it's because specifically the V'yavitz, Yaakov Emden says, V'hinei kan mokum sharoi laharchi bo sadibur, ilmole lo hoya ela ovon zebi yodeinu, shein misablim la Yerushalayim karoi. If the only Avera we had is that we're not misabel la Yerushalayim, hoya dai laharich golaseinu, that's enough to keep the golas going. V'hi be'enai asiba hakrova hayoser gluya atzuma v'chazaka. L'chol hashmodos hamuflogos hagdolos v'anoros hamafilos harayonim. He says, and I attribute all of the terrible tragedies and calamities in Jewish history since Churban Abayis to that, and he didn't even live after the Holocaust. Asher motzonu v'golos b'chol makomos b'zureinu al tzavorenu nirdafnu lo hunach lanu lahargia b'goyim im shifluseinu avolneinu merudenu. The reason is because we don't think we're missing anything. We got used to Golas, especially here in Eretz Yisrael. B'yoseinu shoktim be'eretz lolonu, shochachnu es Yerushalayim, v'lo osa levavenu, v'asher yochiach hanisoyin b'yichud b'yom Tisha B'av hamor, miu hamisabel v'nenach al Churban Abayis, even on Tisha B'av, v'shimos artzeinu karoi mi'im ki'alei, who really from the depths of their heart is misabel. Kama dmos nishpochos alzos. How many tears do we really cry for the Beis HaMikdash? Vein tzorich lomer b'shar yomos hashana. Ein zocher vein poked vein dover mimeno. Afilu b'machshova lo bosichrono. Kilu mikro hayolonu. Al ken shavnu lechatos avosenu lilmo darchei ha'akum. Shemimena nimshochim kol haros bichlal. Because we don't know what we're missing. We don't know what... We're not just another nation that has independence, but we're supposed to be something special. And if we don't understand that, then we become totally integrated and assimilated amongst the nations of the world. And the Mesil Shishorim says, and a person shouldn't think, so what can I do? I'm only a yochid. He said, you never know. The world was created for one person. What could be one person's tears can bring Mashiach. And even if not, Lamaisa, a person who's nenach al kvod Hashem, on Churban Abayis. That in itself is a tremendous schus. The Meshech Chochmah says the Golus gets worse and the Gzeiros get worse. When people think Berlin, Yerushalayim, we're not missing anything. And we can be nice in Golus, and even in Golus in Eretz Yisrael, without a Beis HaMikdash, without all this Ruchnius. It's a nice life. People begin to think that they're comfortable, even in the Matzav of Golus, and the Rebbeinu Shalom makes the Golus not so comfortable. Yitzhak Hashem, if we at least take the opportunity of today, going through the motions at least, and maybe coming to one real tier for Churban Klal Yisrael and Churban Beis HaMikdash, and what we're really missing. You know, the Chedush Harim says in Shulchan Aruch, Roy lechol yirei shomayim lios misonein misabel todir al Churban Beis Mikdashein. It's proper for every yirei shomayim to be misabel constantly on Churban Abayis. The Chedush Harim says, doesn't everybody have to be misabel on Churban Abayis? Why only yirei shomayim? It doesn't say Roy lechol yirei shomayim lios shomer Shabbos. Everybody has to keep Shabbos. If you're not a yirei shomayim, you may not do it. Why here does it say Roy lechol yirei shomayim? He says because a person who's not a yirei shomayim first has to be misabel on his own churban before he worries about churban Beis HaMikdash. So if we realize how much the churban on Beis HaMikdash is our churban, we're HaRav, then maybe we'll take a shed, a tear, a real tear. And that's why the nechama is hamokom yenachem eschem b'so shara dilim Yerushalayim. If you think the Rebbeinu Shalom is just part of this world, then okay, so we have other parts. But if you realize that the Rebbeinu Shalom is Komo Shalola, and everything exists within Him, and if we're missing that kesher to the Rebbeinu, we're missing everything. There's nothing else. Then that's a nechama. If you realize that everything exists within the Rebbeinu Shalom, then there could be a nechama. If not, then that may be missing or whatever, but there's other things. You don't need a nechama. Mr. We understand that. We understand how important it is to be misabel al Yerushalayim, because that was Gorib, the Churban Beitar, when they had a similar situation. Everything was fine. They were independent. And they weren't misabel al Yerushalayim. They didn't realize really what was missing. And when you realize what's missing and you make a statement about it, then Amir Hashem will give us back that which is missing. Dayo v'hoser, the binyan by Yishlishi and HaRav Zev Leff.